Jeff Joerres is the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer at Manpower. He spoke with us about aligning workforce strategy to navigate successfully through uncertainty. What are the key drivers of change that must be understood to navigate successfully through uncertainty?
Yeah, we worked for several years with many different companies to really distill all of the craziness that's happening in the world and bring it down to what we call these world of work trends or world of work forces that are in the marketplace. And we really have found that they are very applicable to various industries and even within divisions and countries. So these trends, if you will, have traveled the world and have been tested. And when you listen to them, they make a lot of sense, but it's really what you do with the detail of some of the things that are inside of those trends. So for example, on the first one, we know, and we can see in many different countries, this notion of demographics and the challenge with demographics. Japanese is the best example, where you would have a very aging population and a immigration policy which is relatively restrictive. So the aging world, if you will, is putting a lot of pressure on what's going to happen to the workforce. Italian, French, Japanese, even in some cases you would find the US and Canada. But it's more than just the demographics, it's also this notion of a talent mismatch. That while companies have openings and there are unemployed people, why isn't there more hiring going on? And what we're seeing is that far more companies are being very specific in the kinds of jobs that they want to fill, and more importantly, very specific in the kinds of people they want to fill those. So that notion of talent mismatch and demographics is a major driver throughout the world, from China, the emerging markets, India, Vietnam, all the way into Western Europe and the emerging markets in the Americas. The other one that kind of goes almost opposite to that, or in concert with that, if you will, is this notion of individual choice. It wasn't very long ago that we were sitting in mid-2008 and some of 2007 where companies were doing backflips to find the right people. We're really trying to understand what are those right people and how can we get them, because the talent is in short supply. 2009 took a little bit of a holiday from that, if you will, but it will be back, and it's back strong. The individuals will be saying, I want certain work models. I want to work a certain way. I want to be paid a certain way, and I want to work in maybe different parts of the world. So the individual has much more information at their disposal. You then have something that's driving so much of what's happening, which is this customer or consumer sophistication. The ability to understand prices are driving everything. And what we're seeing is as margin compression goes down, the velocity and the challenge of what's happening in the workforce goes faster and faster. And this margin pressure is not going to go away. That margin pressure is creating more with less. Same amount of work, less workforce. Same amount of work, less workforce, and it continues to happen that way. A trend underneath all of those, and the fourth one, would be technology. The role of technology in the technological revolutions, all the way from the iPad to the iPhone, but more importantly the general notion of transparency, the ability to get information.
How can HR professionals be prepared for these changes?
The HR professional really has to kind of change the game. For so many years, the HR professional has a profession, and definitely not all, but the majority have been relegated to some comp and benefit schemes, and what are the incentives, and how do I make sure that I'm recruiting in the right places. All things that must be done, but are really bare minimums. So what the HR leader needs to do is to get into the strategic conversation. They need to be able to very much understand not only the words within the business strategy, but the drivers behind the business strategy. They then have the opportunity to change the game, if you will, to really talk about a workforce strategy aligned to the business strategy, which really gives you the predictability of achieving a business strategy. So the HR leader needs to be sitting on the left side or the right side of the CEO, the left side or the right side of the business unit owner.
And why is it so important for organizations to be prepared and deal successfully with these changes?
When you look at the forces that are happening within the world, they're so much more acute, and life cycles are so much reduced. So you used to have a life cycle that was 10 years, now it's 5 years, now it's 18 months. You look at smartphones, they're targeting between 2 and 3 months. We all understand that intellectually. I think what we haven't done is made the transition to, well, what does that mean to my workforce? How quickly can a company now go from a shining star to out of business if they don't have the right talent? Your janitor, your person in your canteen, your programmers, everybody must be good in order to react to these fast-moving forces from the competition and the global world in order to be competitive as your own company.